Thursday, the 11th of July. This here guy is one of our leadership team members with a vast array of experiences and a cool toolkit. His name is Isaac, and we're asking him the same tormenting questions we're asking all the rest of these dudes, which is, who are you, and how'd you get here, and why in the world would anybody do this anyway? Ta-da!
Well, I was a Heartwood apprentice in 2005.
It was a good year.
It was a good year. And after that, I went to actually work for Rick for 4 months at his shop in Illinois, and ended up in Colorado for a while. And I actually lived here a good part of my life. Went to Edwardsville High School, which is just 10 miles down the way, and played soccer just down at Van Fossen Fields, right off of Bluff Road here. So it was kind of a hometown project. So that was a good part of my
Your mom's been
interest.
out here every day checking on you. That's kind of cool. We've got some questions for her.
Yeah. So that's how I got here.
So what do you think you're doing here?
What am I doing here? I'm trying to learn.
But I thought you were one of the teachers.
I think the teachers.
How does that work?
I think the teachers probably learn more than the students at this type of event, especially these fast and furious projects. I'm sure the students are learning a lot. Hopefully they're learning a lot.
They claim to, but I think they're just saying that for the camera. If you could imagine that the other end of that camera there was somebody who just really didn't have a clue about what the Guild was about, especially in terms of field events, what would you tell them? I know that's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Well, for me, the Guild is about people, bringing good people together. But as a byproduct of that, we get to build some cool projects. It's all nonprofit stuff, so we need to partner with a community organization, and the community organization is really the one asking for our help, as I understand it. And then we use that to do this learning and teaching business that we do. Try and advance timber framing, supplement Heartwood and other places that people are learning.
And what is Heartwood exactly?
Heartwood is a school that Will Beamer started out in Beckett, Massachusetts. And they have a 10 to 12 week apprenticeship program. They take regular timber framing classes, drawing classes, compound roof math classes, various timber frame techniques. There's several different teachers that come through. They come to these events. When I was an apprentice, I went to a project in Angola, Indiana, and a project in Salem, Oregon. And those were invaluable to my education at that time.
Cool. You got any questions about how the Guild operates, or what it's for, or what the future's like, or what we're going to have for lunch?
I don't know. It seems like the Guild is approaching a transition period.
I think you're probably right.
People like Rick, serving on the board, and I think he's just starting to rotate through every single position in the Guild.
That's our plan.
Which I imagine you have done, and several other people have done as well. So I imagine some of these apprentices will make it in there at some point, and I'll probably make it in there at some point. And
you're on one of the committees too.
Yeah, I'm on the projects committee.
And what's that all about?
Projects committee is a sort of an advisory committee and sort of a vetting process for the projects that the Guild is trying to do.
Like this one?
Yeah, like this one. So at some point, actually this project came online pretty quickly. It was a 2 or 3 month turnaround?
Really quickly.
From the time we were contacted to the time we were on the ground. And we're trying to get a year to 2 years out, just because the planning and logistics can take that long sometimes, depending on the project. So for this one, the projects committee's role was sort of go, no go. Yep. Do we have enough lead time? Are all the right elements in place? Does the host organization have their act together? And is it going to be a good fit for the Guild and that sort of things? Because we really need to have good community organization, because that's a big part of us being able to do our job, is not think about food, not think about where we're going to sleep, but focus on the building and getting people organized. And
so we're about halfway through this project. Leadership team came early. It's Friday the 11th. What do you think? How are we doing?
I think we're doing pretty good.
I think you're right.
I think the chaos of the first couple of days has sort of gone away, and people.
That's the tax.
Or maybe the chaos, I should say that the chaos hasn't got away, but you've gotten used to working in it.
Habituation.
Yeah. So I certainly am a little more comfortable than I was on the first day. So
well, I
that's
think
a good thing.
That's a pretty typical curve for us. There is a pretty unstated but significant level of anxiety at the beginning of these projects. Can we do it? Do we have the right people? Is there going to be power? What about the porta potties? Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. And I think in this one a little more than others. I did a project, the Long Island project, I think was a little more fleshed out by the time we hit the ground.
It also was a short runner, though.
Yeah, it was a short runner.
5 months or something.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's great. Can you talk just for another 30 seconds about what in the world you think you're doing over here with this skanky-looking piece of wood?
Yeah, so all these rafters were salvaged off the original building. The pitch has changed because of the way we needed to reuse the material. So we've got to go in and change the bird's mouth plumb and level cuts to match the new pitch of the roof. Make a plumb cut for the purlin plate that looks like it didn't exist beforehand.
And all those technical terms.
And we've got to do that to about 240 of them.
Ow! So you're making a template, the pattern?
Yeah.
For the lower rafter of the pair?
Yeah.
So if I understand this correctly, there's a lower rafter and an upper rafter. They're sawn, obviously, from some local material. Do you know what that species is? Doesn't look like oak. Looks like pine.
Yeah, these are pine rafters. And Rick's thought on some of this stuff was that when wood started being sawn on a large scale in Upper Michigan, it was actually came down the Mississippi River to be sold in St. Louis and places south. Because the barn was pre-Civil War, but he thinks the roof was redone later, and part of the reason for that is actually seeing this material, because the hewn oak was probably original to the pre-Civil War construction, and the pine was probably, the sawn pine was probably later.
Well, it's not inconceivable that this is the third roof on this structure, or the
yeah.
fourth, or the fifth.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, this is tornado country, and the first two sets of rafters could have been sucked off before the Civil War, and it wouldn't be unheard of to just start with new material rather than what we're doing.
Yeah. Rick we had an interesting conversation last night about tornadoes and roofs. He said that roofs remain intact or come out better after a tornado if they're not strapped down. In other words, they come off and they land in two pieces, but they don't rack the frame around and tear the joinery of the frame around. If they're tied down, they just end up mangling the frame. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time. I know you got a handful of work to do today, and it's almost dark, so you better get cracking.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
And don't you want to say hi, Mom?
Hi, Mom.
There you go. Nice job. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I know you hate that.
I do.
And that's too bad.
I'll get better at it one of these days.
You got,
or not.
You got no